Road Trips and Missing Persons by Adriana in the Snow. Chapter 20. Janice was being very sulky. Spraying Remus in the face with a little bit of juice was one thing, but pouring the entire juice pouch into his lap, that was another. Clearly, Janice was very unhappy with the state of affairs. Remus was glad Roman had interpreted the shoulder bob Remus had given him while getting into the car correctly, and had helped Remus pin Janice in the middle. Remus honestly wouldn't put it past Janice to try and jump out of the car while it was moving at this point. He was clearly very strung out and in one of his bad headspaces. The first time Remus had seen him in this bad of a headspace had been a week after vacation. He still refused to explain the quotation marks to this day, even though Remus now knew who his mother was and what she did with his mother, and had legitimately planned an assassination of their shared calculus professor, thinking she was plotting against him. At the time, Remus had thought that had mostly been a joke. Having gotten to know Janice since, it was a good thing Dr. Hawkins had decided to give them a break on the homework for that week. Remus had no idea where the man's mind had gone, but he was pretty sure distracting him as soon as possible was the best move. So, Remus did the only thing he could think of in that moment to possibly shock his best friend out of spiraling into a pit of cynicism. He leaned forward and grabbed another Capri Sun, this time strawberry kiwi instead of tropical punch, out of the cooler. He stabbed the straw through the hole and then turned to Janice. "Want another one?" Remus asked. Janice blinked at him stone-faced, but then held out his hand. He took the straw out immediately after Remus handed it to him, and didn't hesitate to pour that entire pouch on Remus's lap as well. Remus nodded seriously, as though Janice had made a good point in an argument. He leaned forward and grabbed another one. "Does," he said, glancing at the label on the pouch as he stuck a straw into it, "a wild cherry one catch your fancy?" He handed it over to Janice, and once again got the entire package squirted into his lap. "Fair enough," he said mildly, reaching into the cooler once again. "How about a grape one?" They went through a Pacific cooler, a Surfer cooler, and an orange one, before finally Remus pulled out a fruit punch one. Instead of immediately tearing out the straw and dumping it on Remus, Janice hesitated at that one. After a moment, he turned away from Remus to stare forward and brought the straw to his lips. Roman was shooting them a bewildered look, but Remus just winked at him. Janice made short work of the juice pouch and then extended a hand to drop the empty container into Remus's lap. Remus gave it a moment, and then leaned over slightly to bump shoulders with him. He paused for a second, and then bumped him again. "I don't want to talk to you," Janice mumbled. Remus paid him no mind and bumped their shoulders together for a third time. "Come on, Jay," Remus said. "No." Remus narrowed his eyes at him, and then slammed into him even harder, sending him into Roman, who yelped in surprise. "What the hell is wrong with you, you cretin?" Janice spat, slapping Remus away. "Oh, so many things," Remus said. He heard Roman give a soft puff of amusement. "What about you?" "What do you mean?" "What's wrong with you?" "Well, I'm stuck in a car with you, asshole," Janice snapped. Remus tilted his head. "No," he said. "What's really wrong?" He scoffed. "What's not, Remus? My brother's missing. My dad of my brother is dead. My mother is trying to murder me in cold blood, and you claimed to be my best friend earlier, but now you are unflinchingly on board with turning me over to your father, who is more than likely going to throw me into a prison cell the moment he sees me." "Okay," Remus said. "First things first, Dad is not going to throw you into a prison cell when we show up." "Oh, really?" Janice asked. "And why wouldn't he?" "He likes you, Jay." "Even if that's true, he clearly doesn't trust me." "If he didn't trust you, he wouldn't let you be a double agent for him," Remus pointed out. "I'm not a double agent because he trusts me," Janice argued. "I'm a double agent because I'm Barbara Nelson's son. I was a calculated risk at best, and now I'm too much of a risk even though I was still useful." "Dad's not like that." "Maybe not to you," Janice grumbled. "Why do you think he doesn't trust you?" "Well, it's pretty obvious when he sends another agent to go pick up my brother, and meanwhile tries to send me on a different mission as a distraction to get me out of the way. Clearly he doesn't trust me not to deliver Virgil to my mother. Why else would he do that?" "Jay, did you consider that he knows you?" Remus asked. Janice raised an eyebrow. Dude, just last week you were drunk texting me and Dad pictures of you and your brother from your childhood, many of which included Virgil's father. He may have jumped to the conclusion that you'd be upset about Remy Gates' death and that you'd act irrationally because of those feelings. Janice scoffed. Irrational. He asked, what did he expect me to do? Oh, Remus said, I don't know. Perhaps something like bash in some guy's skull against a water fountain in a public park, blow your cover with your mom, explode a car, smash a bunch of phones, get into a car chase, and shoot out with your mom's men that ultimately ended up with you in a lake, pour juice all over me, and spiral into a pit of thinking everyone in your life is out to get you. If looks could kill, well, Remus would have already been dead long ago, but he would have been especially dead right then. However, as it stood, Remus was decidedly not dead. He shot a toothy smile at Janice, who glared even more intensely. All of those things were perfectly rational, Janice insisted. And even if I were emotional, that is because my brother is missing, which your father did not know about until after he sent Roman. It has nothing to do with the boy's father. You are worryingly good at hiding your emotions from yourself, Remus said. I think you actually believe that. Wonder what you'll do when we find Virgil and those feelings are still not gone. You and your father can both screw off, he ground out. Yet his tone was still somehow milder than it had been before they'd started to talk through his idea that Dad 100% inarguably hated him. So that was progress. Remus bumped their shoulders again. Plus, he said, if Dad did decide to throw you into a prison cell, I'd totally break you out of it, and we'd go on the run. Our future cat has to have a daddy, after all. I don't even like cats, Janice said. Sure, Jan. I'm going to pour more juice on you. Kinky. What? What does that even mean? It's his default catchphrase, Roman offered. Try spinning him around and bonking him on the head 3 times. That usually resets him. Bet I could do it in 1 if I hit him hard enough, Janice said. I'd say no blood in my car, Lena piped in from the front seat, but it's far too late for that. Remus said. What's worse on car seats? Noseblood, Capri Sun, or lake water? We'll find out when it dries, Janice said. I'm charging the agency for a new car, Lena grumbled. Same, said Roman.